Yeah, I don't know who told Samsung and all these companies that they can just have all these random songs playing in your house. I'm glad that it lets me know it's ready, but it's really actually annoying. Anyways, I got my breakfast here. So I got 200 grams of sweet potatoes, 3 eggs, and 5 ounces of ground beef. So we're about to go ahead and get this in. This is actually the beginning of prep. So more on that later, but this is where I'm starting. I've already started my cut. I'm only 2 days in right now, and so yeah, just getting used to really measuring everything. So I have my scale here. I'm not that good to just look at it and eyeball it out. I definitely measured it. I'm excited to see what I can do this season. This will be my first official full bodybuilding season. So still an amateur. We'll see what happens, but I'm gonna put that work in and we're gonna get after it. All right, you all. So I'm here at DEXA Fit Atlanta for my DEXA scan. Before we get into that, I'm here early, so I want to go ahead and kind of explain some differences. So when we go back to the BIA scale, right? The BIA scale, what it's doing is sending low level currents through your body to be able to access your body fat percentage, your bone density, and the percent amount of your body that's water. And when I say low level currents, don't worry, it's not going to
put a shock to your system.
Now, a DEXA scan is a dual energy X-ray absorptiometry scan. Now, no one's ever going to say the full word, but the only reason why I told you all that is to give you all some game. And as you can see in the name, it has X-ray in it. So it's taking a low level X-ray to really be able to parse out what part of your body is body fat, what part is muscle, and it gives you a more accurate reading on your bone density, which is super, super important when we talk about longevity. We always hear about people getting older, slipping, falling, breaking a hip. You can keep your bone density higher and obviously keep your movement and stuff active so you don't fall in the first place. You have a way better chance at living a very, very great health span. All right, so enough talking. I'm gonna go ahead and head inside, go ahead and show you all everything that comes with getting a DEXA scan at DEXA Fit, and then I'll let you all decide which one is giving me a more accurate reading.
We have here an A, and then everything on the right hand side I'll go a little bit more into detail, but feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. Total mass, you're at 176, so you gained 6.1 since your last scan. Body fat, you're at 14.5%, so you went up only 0.9%, so not a huge increase at all. Lean mass, you're at 144, 82%, you gained 3.8, so super good.
There we go.
Bulk is working. And then in your arms, 11.2 on the right, 10.8 on the left. So the right side's just a hair stronger, but not a huge imbalance. Then bones look super good, 6.5 pounds worth of bones in your body. So that's gonna put your T-score well above excellent at 1.7. So you gained lean mass in your trunk and your legs, but you lost a little bit in your arms.
Too many labors.
But any questions that I can help answer?
All right, you all. So I ran up to the gym real quick. You heard my results from the DEXA scan. I'm not going to lie to you all. No gym bro, no guy, period, ever wants to hear that they lost lean muscle mass in their arms. Moment of silence.
Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin. This is serious.
But it's going to be okay. I honestly was looking at my arms and I was like, do my arms get slightly smaller? Like I felt like I could tell. But anyways, we're going to correct that. Even going into the cut, there's things I can do to just partition a little bit more volume with proper recovery that should keep me from losing any more. Naturally, if I'm in a super, super deficit, I'm not going to be able to build muscle. But during this bulk, I pushed my calories up so high that I'm technically still not even in a true deficit now, because the way it works, and this is kind of nuanced, so we're going to talk about this across several videos, but I'll give you a quick example. I pushed my calories up to 3,000, about 3,000 plus calories. Right now, my cut is starting off at 2,500. My actual BMR, my basal metabolic rate, the amount of calories I burnt at rest, didn't just magically jump all the way up to like 2,800, right? It's higher than it was back when I had cut and naturally slowed my metabolism down from doing that, but it didn't get that high, meaning I still have like a small window of time in this cut to still be able to build muscle. So that's good news. Anyways, I'm about to run inside the gym real quick, get some walking in on the treadmill. It is raining outside today, pretty rainy. Otherwise, I would just walk outside. I don't feel like getting bit by mosquitoes, so I'm gonna go hit this treadmill real quick, and then I'm gonna run over to another gym and train one of my clients. All right, you all, so now that I'm done walking, I wanted to make sure I could get in, get out, and make sure I'm running early for my client. But now that I have a little bit more time here, gym is like 5 minutes away, so praise God, I can get into some of the nuances of what I was discussing. So the reason why I was saying there's good news, I still have time to be able to build up my arms, is because I'm not in a true caloric deficit right now. Because I know a lot of people will comment and say, how are you going to build muscle in a caloric deficit? It's physiologically impossible, which that would be true. But what we have to take in consideration whenever you're trying to determine where your caloric deficit should be, if you're doing so with calculations and you're not doing so intuitively, either one is fine. For bodybuilding though, and for the sake of being super dialed in, I'm doing it with calculations. I'm using my TDEE, which is my total daily energy expenditure, to figure out exactly, or at least a roundabout, right? All these calculators have their margin of error, but a roundabout of where I could potentially be in terms of burning calories each day. From there, if you're looking to basically get into a cut, you will want to make sure that you're burning more than that number that you're seeing, right? And the inverse is true. If you're in a bulk, right, you wouldn't want to be higher. So I went and got a random TDE calculator. I didn't use the one that I typically like using. I didn't want to open up my spreadsheet, but just for the sake of this conversation, it's saying all of my stats, I am burning 2,100 calories, right? Because I'm sedentary. And I know a lot of you are like, you're a trainer, how are you sedentary? I'm glad you asked. Let's get into it. So just finished training my client, headed back to the crib to get some lunch. Let's finish our discussion. So if we're going through and we're saying, okay, if I'm sedentary, right, I'm a personal trainer. Again, this really depends on my client load. Right now, I don't have the highest client load, so I'll put myself as sedentary. I know some people are kind of like panicking because they're like, well, if you're sedentary, then what am I? So what you can really do in an easy way to kind of just break this down is, what do you do for work? Like if you're sitting in an office all day, it really doesn't matter if you're doing a 6-day split. I know all the fitness influencers like 6-day split, 6-day split. You could be a bodybuilder as well, working out an hour in the gym 6 days a week, right? 6 days a week, an hour at a time. And if you go and sit and do an office job, you're an accountant, you're still sedentary, right? You're not getting enough total daily activity. That's why it's total daily energy expenditure with a TDEE. And how a lot of people mess this up, regardless if they're bodybuilders, if you're just trying to lose weight, build muscle, right? If you're trying to actually put on size, whatever direction you're trying to go, people mess this up because they think highly of themselves, or they put themselves or rank themselves where they want to be, not where they actually are. And I can understand how it's confusing, right? If you train 6 days a week in the gym, you would think I'm an active person, but in terms of total daily energy expenditure, which is total daily activity, you're not active at all if you do that, but you still have an office job. And so you need to make sure that when you're using these calculators, because they're already just giving you an estimate, you need to make sure that you're giving it the right inputs, and that's going to help you get a better output so you can better plan your progression. Also, while we're on this topic, it's good to note that the inverse is true. And I want to cover this because I know some people will say, okay, this is common sense, but I want to make this as valuable as possible for you all. So when I say the inverse is true, then it means, okay, you're very active if you have an active job, or let me not even say very active, at least active. And so an example could be a mail carrier, someone doing UPS, someone walking back and forth in a warehouse. You're going to be more active than someone that is, you know, just sitting at an office job. You may work security where you walk back and forth all the time, right? That's going to be someone that's going to have a higher energy expenditure, and you're going to burn more calories throughout your day. And again, it's important to know this because let's say you're trying to really put on size, and I hear this a lot with people that have very active jobs like this. A lot of times they're just not eating enough because they're expending so many calories, or they're overtraining because they're already on their feet all day, moving back and forth, back and forth. Think of a farmer, and then they're throwing a whole bunch of strength training on top of that, and their body just can't recover from all of the volume. So you have to be able to understand the nuances of these things and where you're at specifically for your life, which is why I don't like these cookie cutter methods. You can see how you can get a lot of pitfalls from not knowing, okay, how to apply something to your life. Once you have that understanding, then you can start to see the transformation that you want to see. So I've said all of this to say, how does this apply to what I was telling you all earlier about not just building my arms, but any other area of my body that I kind of want to just build a little bit more muscle before I get into a true deficit. If we go back to the number examples that I gave you all, right now I cut about 500 calories plus out of what I was eating. So I was eating a little bit over 3,000. Now I'm eating right at 2,500. My TDEE is 2,100, basically meaning I still have 400 calories that are in a surplus, right? Now, naturally, that's going to be affected by my activity. But again, I said I'm sedentary right now, so I'm not really getting enough steps to pull me into a true deficit, meaning right now, even though I've cut food out of that I'm eating out of my day-to-day, I still have enough calories to put on muscle in these first few weeks of my cut. So I'm gonna take advantage of that, and then I'm just gonna slowly adjust things, because to be honest with you all, right now I've moved. More on that later. Not in as much of a walkable area as I once was, for sure, and so that's gonna affect how many steps I can get. Like I said, client load isn't super high right now, so activity is a little bit lower, so I'm probably gonna pull a lot more from my calories and my nutrition, but I didn't necessarily want to just start off and say, okay, I was at 3,000 plus, now I'm at 2,000, just pull 1,000 calories out. So I'm going a little bit slower, acclimating to it, and I'm starting my prep a lot earlier now as well. So I'm not just going 12 weeks straight through. My goal right now is to do about 8 weeks and then have like a short 2 to 3 week maintenance. This will help me take care of my bone health. This will help me avoid any kind of diet fatigue. And then the last 4 weeks, just fully pull everything down and present, in my prayers, a very great package. Alrighty, here's lunch. Of course, we got the food scale, still eating pretty big. The macros are right here. And yeah, I'm about to get into this. This looks absolutely amazing. All right, you all, so I'm gonna close it out here, sitting in my wife's egg chair, but 2 things I have to make sure you'll have down pat before we go. One, first and foremost, when it comes to identifying where your body fat percentage is, if you have access to getting a DEXA scan and you want to get super precise, that's going to be your best bet. That's what you're going to want to go with, because it's just going to give you so much information, as you saw. That's not only going to help you on your transformation journey, again, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to put weight on, it's just going to give you a good glimpse into your overall health. And so I highly recommend it if you have access to it, and if that's something that you want to be able to do. Now, when it comes to the BIA scale, that is a lot more accessible. You can do it right at home. But you have to understand there's a high margin of error. As you saw this morning, it said 17.8% body fat for me. I get a DEXA scan, it's 14.5. That's 3.3% difference. And if you look at how someone would look if you show that percentage difference in change, it's drastic, right? And so that can be really detrimental if you've been grinding your butt off only to see like, okay, I'm still high teens, high 20s, high 30s, wherever you're at, and you could be a lot lower than what you think. So if you are using a BIA scale at home, just use it to track trends. That's how I use it throughout prep. I go in, I get a DEXA scan, I see how much is off, and then I kind of get a glimpse. I always use that percentage difference, but I'm just looking and seeing, is it going down as I go through prep? And so if you're going for a weight loss transformation, you just want to see that it's going down. You don't have to hold it as a gospel that that is the exact number that you're at. And secondly, when it comes to figuring out how do I get into a caloric surplus or how do I get in a caloric deficit, you're going to want to look at your TDEE if you want to be super calculated. Again, You can do this intuitively, but you have to count the cost. There's pros and cons to both. I will say with doing it intuitively, there's a lot more things that can go under the table that you just don't see that could be affecting you, that kind of keep you plateaued. The measured approach, there's a lot more that you can see. And so you have less variables that can go under the table that would keep you plateaued. But again, depending on what season of life you're in, it may make more sense to do it intuitively. For instance, I'm doing bodybuilding, being calculated, being precise, it makes sense because it's a sport. But again, you have to choose what's best for you. But without further ado, hit that subscribe button so that way when I drop, you can be the first person to know. You have to hit the notification bell for that to happen. Tap the like button, that'll help me out a lot. And comment down below. Comment down below what transformation you're looking to make in your life. Is it weight loss? Is it weight gain? Are you bodybuilding too? Like, how will you utilize knowing your body fat percentage? Does that help you just get a better understanding what your health is? Does that help you figure out, okay, how do I need to manage my transformation? Just comment down below because I would love to help you all and just give you all some game and try and give you some good advice on where you can go based on the information you drop down below. All right. And always remember, I love you, but most importantly, Jesus loves you. Peace.